Welcome, Houston, to Chai Time here on 103.5 Hum FM. We hope everyone had an amazing weekend and a funny morning, a funny start to the morning. It was sunny, and then all of a sudden, now we have this gloomy weather. It's like, what happened? Well, it is bipolar weather, right, in Houston, so we get what we get. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great weekend, and today we are honored to have Daya Houston here with us, and we have Tasneem and Arpana from Daya Houston. You are the I had a little brain. So, Arpana, you are the board member and the
Yes, I'm the advisory board member.
Advisory board member,
Aparna
sorry.
Astana, and yeah, I've been on Daya's board and on staff the last 7 to 8 years. So
Oh,
it's been
wow.
a long journey
Okay.
for me, but yeah, I'm now off staff and I'm on the advisory board.
Very nice. And you have come with us on the show here a
Yes,
couple of
I
times.
have, yeah.
So it's really nice
Thank
to see
you
you
for
again.
having me.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Tasneem, welcome again.
Thank you.
So let's start the show today. We are going to be discussing about the journey of transformation, which is the theme of your gala as well, correct?
It is.
So can you tell our audience who may not know about you a bit more about Daya and the services that you guys provide?
Yeah, so we provide holistic services for survivors of both domestic violence and sexual assault. And so our services include things like our helpline, our confidential helpline, our case management services. We also have counseling, financial and economic empowerment, support groups, and other, wraparound services to kind of help meet a survivor's needs wherever they are in their journey.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
Now, is domestic violence prevalent in the South Asian community?
Yes, it is. So, like, nationally, we know that 1 in 3 women and sometimes as high as 1 in 7 men face some sort of domestic violence, and then the sexual assault statistics are similar as well. But we know in the South Asian community that number can actually be higher due to, like, us experiencing abuse at different times in our lifespan. And we also know that the statistics we have are, like, vastly underreported, especially for men. And so, it's really tough for a survivor to come forward and seek and access help. And so, of course, we're only aware of the people that do come forward and access our helpline, but our best guess is, there's studies here locally that show up to 40% of females experience some sort of domestic violence in their lifetime, and I've read studies in India as high as 70%. So the numbers are quite staggering, and we actually provide services to any survivor that comes forward, but we have a culturally specific expertise with the South Asian community in terms of, like, the language assistance. We provide services in multiple, South Asian dialects and things like that.
Okay. So, I always want, like, from the outside in, right?
Yeah.
People always wonder, well, if you're, in a domestic or in a violent relationship and you're being abused, why not just leave?
Yeah.
What stops a victim from?
Yeah.
Or is that the right term to use?
Yeah,
from leaving?
we use victim, we use survivor as well, just
yes.
because it's a little
I
bit
like that
more
better. Survivor,
empowering.
yes.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many barriers. Like in the mainstream population, you'll have things, financial, barriers are the biggest barriers to leaving any relationship. Typically, you'll have a small family with a couple of kids, and it's very tough for that survivor to survive, even if they have their own income, let alone if they don't. And, for our population, there's the intricacies of, like, the immigration barrier. So most of our survivors will come here on some sort of legal status. Usually they'll have, like, an H1 or U visa or something dependent, on their spouse.
Right.
And so if they were to leave that relationship, then it becomes very complex because they could lose that status that is, tied to the abusive partner. So then it makes it very difficult, especially when the kids are U.S. born. It's not like they can just get up and go back home because the kids are here. And then there's barriers, of our community, the shame, the stigma.
Yes.
within our culture of like leaving the family unit and breaking up the family. And even from a religious standpoint, a lot of scriptures will kind of ask couples to stay together to make it work. Then there's the social stigma and the shame, like what will people think? What will people say, right? And I think the biggest question we get is, why does she stay or why does he stay in a relationship? And I think what we want to try to do at Daya is change the rhetoric away from like, why do they stay, and put the onus on the abusive partner. Like, why do they do what they do? Why do they abuse? And kind of understanding where that comes from.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So, how many and what types of clients do you typically see?
Yeah. So typically in a given year, we'll serve over 600 clients. I think last year was like 626 clients. And I think 35 of those were actually male clients as well. So quite a big number. And, they come from all different age ranges. We work with adult survivors currently. And so we'll have, people as young as 18 all the way to, elder abuse happens. So in their 50s, 60s, I think probably our average, is about 30s and 40s, like young women, particularly with young children. And in terms of socioeconomic status or educational background, usually they're highly educated, and they come from like all different, like we have people from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, like all of the South Asian continents, and then some that are U.S. born but still are South Asian by origin. And then we also have a lot of Middle East, North African clients as well, and then, other ethnicities and cultures. But I think what we want to understand is that it doesn't happen to certain subsect or population. It's just across the board. And a lot of times people think it's like a lack of education. And in fact, most of our clients are highly educated. And that's another barrier they face, is they can be like really educated back home, but those like degrees or certifications won't necessarily translate here. So when they go to like seek jobs, a lot of times that avenue isn't open to them, both because their certification doesn't translate and because they may not have like legal working status. So one of the things that we do is provide, legal advocacy and protections, like seeking out things like protective orders and assistance while they're seeking like divorce, or if there's child custody cases and things like that.
So go through the initial phases of how everything starts. Like, so you have a
Helpline.
Okay,
Yeah.
so start off with that. So a person calls in, and then what happens next?
Yeah. So, I mean, that first call is like the most important call, right?
Yeah.
Because people are scared, first of all, to even call in. And one of the things that we try to provide awareness around is the confidentiality and the privacy of our services. So I think people think sometimes coming to South Asian Agency, oh my gosh, what if they know me? What if they know my family? And what is that going to look like? And so our helpline is completely confidential, and we provide in multiple services. And our helpline coordinator currently she's an angel, and she's so easy to talk to. And a lot of times people will call and not know what they want to say. And she'll kind of guide them through the process of, okay, tell me what's going on. What are you facing? And then where are you currently? We do a lot of safety planning on the phone. So trying to assess the situation. And let's say like if they're in the home with the abuser and their plan is not to leave, how do you stay safe in the home? If you need an escape route, how do you access that? If you need a shelter or a place to stay. And so she'll kind of gauge like where they are in their journey. And sometimes it's just like an informational call. Like they want to know what, if this is normal, what they're facing. And we do a lot of DV education over the phone. And then we open up that full access to services. So if they're wanting to be a client, even if they're not wanting to leave the relationship, we really always meet them where they are. We never tell them go in this direction or that. We just kind of guide them to like the best practices of wherever they want to access help. And so let's say they want to leave a relationship, then we help them through like, okay, where would you stay? How would you leave safely? We do have financial assistance for rental properties that we work with, and so they can, get up to a certain number of months of like rent, utility assistance. We also work with all of the mainstream shelters, so that if they want to go into a safe place, or a lot of times with our population, they'll want to go stay with a friend or a family member, and so we help them like kind of keep those places safe wherever they're going. And then once they're enrolled in our services, then they have access to counseling for themselves. We also have partners that will provide like counseling for their children, case management. So case management really looks like goal setting on a short-term basis. So, okay, you're here and you want to get a job and you want to get a car. So this is how we can kind of help navigate the system, either legally or, in terms of getting their basic needs met. And our case managers giving kind of that guidance and coaching and awareness of all of the things that exist. A lot of times coming into the U.S., it's a foreign system, right? Both legally, even driving, sometimes learning bus schedules if they don't have cars. And so we help them navigate kind of all of that. We'll provide transportation assistance as well when they need to go to legal appointments, or sometimes even if they need childcare while they're seeking jobs. We do a lot of economic and financial empowerment, so resume writing, skill building, workshops. We're doing a lot of support groups where they can kind of meet one another and form like a peer support network as well.
Oh, wow. So how do the children fit in a situation like this?
So currently we don't offer children's services, but that's not to say that we don't serve children. So in meeting the needs of the parents, we also help, like, for example, if there's rent or utility assistance, we take into account how big the family is, or groceries and things like that. And so we provide financial assistance for the whole family as well. And then in terms of counseling, we do have partners that we work with. It is our hope over time to, bring in-house services, but we have culturally specific partners that the kids can actually receive counseling at, and of course the case management comes through us.
And you guys have, how many languages do your staff speak?
I believe it was about, last year I know we spoke about 16 different languages. I think we speak 18 in total, but we provided services last year in 16 different languages, and that was including English, Arabic, Bengali, Dari, Farsi, Gujarati, Hindi, Malayalam, Pashto, Punjabi, Rohingya, Telugu, Urdu, Mandarin, Greek, and Spanish.
Wow.
So a wide range.
That's fantastic.
A wide range of,
Wow. Yeah. So, what are the biggest barriers in leaving an abusive relationship?
Well, like I said, the financial is probably the first and foremost. It's always like, do I have the money and resources to establish independence, to even seek housing and things like that? And a lot of the times the answer is no. And so what we do is we help them get set up with a case manager that will help them plug into different benefits that they may apply for, like through the government, CHIP, Medicaid, SNAP, things like that. We're also really happy to actually have like our own in-house pantry now. It's like a Mundi that Aparna actually was really integral in setting up, along with one of our staff members around COVID time, I think.
I think the initial impetus for it was during COVID, when people, couldn't access resources, and the food insecurity obviously became an issue and continues to be an issue, right, with rising costs. And so initially it was just sort of a few bags of rice and lentils that were given out to the really vulnerable clients who came to us. And then last year, we realized there was a real need for this in-house. We were doing referrals to food pantries and things like that, but again, one of the big barriers our clients face is transportation. So, many of them leave and they don't really have either they don't have a car, or they don't have, they don't even know how to drive, right? So there are many steps before they can achieve that kind of transportation independence. So even going to a food pantry to pick up groceries for them was a real ordeal. And if they have children and they have to get in a bus and transfer bus routes to get to a pantry and then transport all these groceries back. So we'd been sort of brainstorming ways in which to help, and one of the ways we created a space, and people really generous community members have been able to come together and donate some basic pantry essentials. And we predominantly focus on South Asian pantry items. So it's rice, lentils, wheat flour, salt, sugar, tea bags. And the first time, the first few times we started this, we had clients that were just overwhelmed because, typically they would just take 1 or 2 bags and then we would give it to them. And then we realized, let our clients pick out what they want, right? Because somebody may just, and even things like cookies for their kids, which, until we started getting some cookies and clients were so appreciative, we didn't even realize that something small like that could be so meaningful to a family that is, just resource constrained. They are food insecure. The focus is always on like, what do we need to survive versus what do we need to, maybe sweeten our day a little bit better and to even thrive. And they deserve that, right? And you have these little kids coming in and they're so excited with like a little pencil case or like a bag of cookies and things like that. So that was really affirming last year to see the sort of very direct impact you do make. I mean, all the other stuff, case management, all that is the big picture, right? Like you need to do that. But it was also really affirming for staff, I think, to see like these little acts that
it's also the little things.
The little things, right? And the child would just smile and be really excited, run up and down the corridor with like a bag of cookies. And you're like, okay, this is why we show up every day, even when it's hard to do this work.
Wow, that's precious.
So when we see financial barriers like that, whether it's food or with housing, not only do we do the rental assistance, but it takes a lot to make an apartment like a home. And so we provide things like linens and bedding and things like that, and even just startup supplies, furniture, to kind of furnish the place initially. And then we give gift cards as well so that they can access transportation, like if they're going on job interviews and things like that. Even things like how to access like suits and things. We have like Dress for Success that we partner with. We have a lot of community partners that kind of help them with job force readiness, and we do that in-house as well. Our case managers do a lot of looking over resumes and helping like point out jobs that we are aware of. A lot of times community members will tell us like there's this job that exists if any of you have clients that and so the full gamut. And then another big barrier, like I said, is legal services. And so we have a senior director of legal services that has been with Daya for I think 17
I think it's like 18 going on 19
years, and she is amazing and helps them kind of navigate the entire legal system. Now we don't have any like attorneys on staff. I mean, we have advocates that like actually have a legal background, but we don't do like in-house legal services. But what we do is legal advocacy, and so that's like if they need to, like I said, access a protective order, which is similar to a restraining order but really keeps their home and their workplace safe. Or if they need to, file for that divorce or child custody proceedings, we have a legal clinic that we've started that has a lot of like South Asian, and then just mainstream attorneys that have partnered with us either for like a low cost, low bono or pro bono services. We work with legal aid agencies that will also like partner and give legal assistance as well, so that they can kind of obtain that divorce or that protective order or legal status. Like I said, if they are on a dependent status, then we help them file that initial paperwork for accessing their own independent status from their abuser. And then another barrier is, like I said, just the stigma, the shame, the doubt, did I bring this upon myself? Am I doing the right thing by leaving? And that's where counseling is super important. And really we've become kind of a one-stop shop, even with the Mundi and everything, where like all of their needs can kind of be met in one place without them having to go to multiple locations to access services.
I love that Daya is basically like the big brother, big sister, holding their hands through the whole process from beginning to the end. That's amazing. Now, understand that you guys have a fundraising gala that's coming up in September. Can you tell us about that event and what your focus is this year, Arpana?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're super excited. Our gala this year is going to be Sunday, September 28th at the Sugarland Marriott. And the theme for this year is Journey of Transformation, their voices, their strength, our support. So basically, this theme and seeks to honor the journey of survivors in our community who have kind of made that courageous decision to leave and also then to rebuild their lives, right? And we all know that, leaving is one act, but then what happens after sort of defines, their future progression, right? In terms of their goals, what they where they end up. And so for many of our survivors, there's really a true sort of a journey or a metamorphosis that sort of happens through that process. It's not easy. We know that we've already talked about how, financial instability or financial abuse is one of the biggest reasons survivors will stay or in fact even return to an abusive relationship because, if they leave a relationship but they don't have the means to move forward on their own and have the financial means to do it, and of course there's also support, then the chances are pretty high that they're going to return to that same relationship. So we're really looking to break that cycle, and so our gala this year is really about that journey and honoring the journey of our clients, but also stories that are really impactful for people who've made this rebuilding of their lives, and what does it take to get there, right? And it's multiple forces kind of play an impact in this journey. So for us, this year is really special since we at Daya are also sort of highlighting economic empowerment for our clients as a major theme. We would love to really empower our clients for the future, not just band-aid them for the short term, but really help them get the skills they need to build that life for themselves and their kids for the future and be financially really stable. So the event is on the 28th. Registration starts at 5 p.m., but our program and there's a dinner that will begin at 6:30. We're super excited this year. We are planning on doing a silent auction. We've received some really amazing donations towards the auction, including like a vacation stay and things like that. We're anticipating about 450 to 500 people this year, so it's going to be a big event in Sugarland. A lot of our community lives obviously in the Sugarland, Katy area, so we really hope they will come out and support us in person. And if they can't make it, they can go to our website and even make a donation, which would be incredible, and really a show of support. As we all know, this year, like a lot of nonprofits, we are facing a shortage in funding with the loss of government funds. So we really are looking at our communities to support us this year and keep us doing this work in Houston. So our website is dayahouston.org/gala2025. And all the information for the evening is on there. And then there's also some donation links if people would like to make that donation.
Love it. Now, you will be, after the break, we're having one of your keynote speakers, Cherry Morse, that will be joining us. So can you give us a little bit about her background and her inspiring story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, to start off with, I wanted to talk a little bit about Free From, which is the sort of the parent organization that Cherry represents through Gifted. And Free From is a nonprofit based out of LA, and they are survivor-led and by survivors for survivors, basically. And their whole focus is on economic empowerment of survivors. So we felt that this year, partnering with them would be a really great way to sort of highlight Daya's own work in Houston, what we want to achieve with our survivors, but also partnering with a organization that has been doing this work both from an advocacy policy standpoint, but they've also come up with some really innovative ideas, financial literacy tools for survivors, and also a social enterprise platform called Gifted, and that's where Cherry's story comes in. Because Gifted is a platform that Freeform runs that allows survivor entrepreneurs who are seeking to rebuild their lives to essentially create products, and I think they call them self-care products, so the things like candles and bath salts and things like that, and then they sell them through this platform, and all the proceeds go back to the survivors who are entrepreneurs, and the idea being to give them a living wage and really helping them thrive. So it sort of takes them beyond survivorship to, I think is it thriveship is a word, I don't know, but to thriving, and many of these survivors are single mothers with children, at least on the platform. And the reason we got really interested in it was because Freeform, in partnership with some other folks, did a documentary in 2024 called Survivor Made that sort of highlights the journey of these survivors using the social enterprise platform Gifted as a way to showcase their products and how they fulfill orders over a sort of the Christmas timeline, right? And so Cherry Morse, who is our keynote speaker, is the marketing manager at Gifted, and she's one of the ladies featured in this documentary. So we're super excited to have her and feature her, and I believe.
Excited. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with Cherry Morse on the line with us, joining us from California. Stay tuned. You are listening to 103.5 Hum FM. Welcome back to Chai Time here on 103.5 Hum FM. For those of you that have just tuned in, we are in conversation with Nasneem and Arpana from Daya, Houston. So we, before we went on break, you were telling us a little bit about Miss Cherry Morse, who's going to be joining us very soon from California. So can you give us a little bit about her background?
Sure, absolutely. So for those joining us right now, Cherry Morse is going to be Daya's keynote speaker at our gala on September 28th at the Sugarland Marriott. And we're so excited because Cherry is featured in a documentary called Survivor Made. And she is also the sales and marketing manager at Gifted, a social enterprise created by Freeform that supports survivors by purchasing handmade self-care products from survivor entrepreneurs. They also pay them living wages to all of their survivor employees. Cherry manages the brand's marketing campaigns, promotions, and corporate partnerships. A little bit about Cherry: she was born and raised in the Philippines, and she applied her hotel and restaurant management degree to work in the hospitality industry across Asia and the Middle East. Cherry moved to the U.S. in 2001, where she met her ex-partner. After a 12-year marriage, she divorced in 2018. Cherry has 4 children. She found the courage to leave her abusive partner while pregnant with her youngest daughter and began a new violence-free life with her children. While in a domestic violence shelter, Cherry focused on healing holistically with her children. Once she secured stable housing, she pursued a business degree at LAC while working as a paralegal at the Los Angeles Superior Court. Cherry is featured in a documentary that highlights her journey as a single mother of 4 and a survivor while working at Gifted. She also founded her LLC, Her Fortitude, a women empowerment company, and she's a member of the Survivor Advisory Council at Finability, a nonprofit that provides financial resources and programs for survivors. We are so excited to feature Cherry this year as our keynote speaker on September 28th.
Wow. So Cherry is joining us here on air from California. Welcome, Miss Morris. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Hello, listeners. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, we are so excited to have you on the show. Now, Daya did tell us a little bit about your background, but we'd love to hear from your perspective the challenge that you faced as a survivor of domestic violence.
Thank you so much, Daya, for that very wonderful introduction. So my name is Cherry. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I moved here in the U.S. when I was 21. I met my ex-partner, and I had children with him. I stayed in the relationship for 12 years, and I attempted to leave about 4 times, but it was always incredibly difficult. And here are the reasons why it was hard to leave. First, he made me believe that I would always be dependent on him. So I developed this dynamic or relationship, codependency relationship, in Stockholm syndrome. And I thought that I was always in my comfort zone, that being with him like was the best thing in my situation. Second, my cultural background had taught me that once you're married, you stay no matter what. They have this saying, for richer or for poorer, till death was part. And that was like deeply ingrained in me. And also, the Philippines is primarily a Catholic country. So growing up, I was so exposed to those beliefs. And so, third, I came from a broken family, and my father was also abusive to my mother, and I witnessed it as a child. So I normalized it, and I didn't want the same outcome from my family being broken. So I had to do everything to try to fix the relationship or fix him. And another challenge was being alone here in the US as an immigrant without family support or knowledge of available resources. He made me believe that I couldn't take care of myself without him. And every time I tried to leave, he would get me pregnant. So the children were a way for him to control me.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, were there services that you accessed that were similar to Daya's in California? And why are agencies like Daya so critical to the survivor's safety?
I can say yes. There are similar agencies, but not exactly Daya. When I entered the domestic violence shelter, they helped me tremendously. I received legal and court advocacy. I was able to get permanent restraining order, file for divorce, and apply for citizenship. I also had counseling, and over time, I went through a lot of therapists to process the years of severe abuse. And in that shelter, I remember participating in parenting classes, yoga, art therapy, financial wellness workshops, and I was taught how to create a safety plan. And until now, I'm still maintaining a folder filled with resources and actions and contacts.
Wow, I love that.
And eventually, I went back to school and I earned my business management degree. And through the school's job placement program, I got an internship at the Los Angeles Superior Court, where I work as a paralegal advocating for child support enforcement. And it is so ironic because until now, I haven't gotten child support from my harm doer. And also with housing resources, before I left the shelter, I received a lot of referrals for affordable housing and Section 8 housing. And indeed, I'm a product of these programs, and the healing and stability that I have now are direct results of the support that I receive. And agencies like Daya are very critical to a survivor's safety because as an immigrant, they would understand me, understand my culture, my language, my systemic barriers as a survivor when I'm seeking help. And when I was in the harmful relationship, I was isolated a lot and I didn't want to talk to anyone. And we were chronically homeless, so we would move from state to state, county to county. So every time I would start build connections, like new friends and mentors, that would be taken away because we would move somewhere else. So I felt trapped. And yeah, and I feel like agencies like Daya would see me believe me and understand me without judgment. And it's a lifeline
Yeah.
to experience that, you know. And yeah, and if they see me as a human
Yeah.
and not just like a statistic that they can put in their reports,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all for that.
Wow. You're superwoman in my book.
Thank you.
So I know the theme of this year's gala is Journey of Transformation. We can see that you've been to a transformative and healing journey yourself, and where you've been able to achieve not only such safety and healing, but also economic independence. Can you tell us how you were able to overcome obstacles and some of your recent wins?
When I left the relationship, I had nothing, just two bags with one clothes for me and my kids, and another one with important documents. We slept at a friend's house for weeks before I found an emergency shelter. And then after 45 days there, we moved to a domestic violence shelter for 18 months. And then I eventually moved into Section 8 housing, and I relied on government aid for about 5 years. During that time, I was introduced to Gifted by Freefrom, a social enterprise dedicated to ending gender-based violence through living wage and entrepreneurship. And while living at the Section 8 housing, I got a degree in management, and I landed a job like I said, at the Superior Court. And then I later began working at Gifted, and I was eventually promoted to sales and marketing manager. I now lead Gifted's marketing campaign, social media, and sales strategies. And while working at Gifted, I was inspired by the survivor entrepreneurs around me. I learned how to start a business, source products, price items, design packaging, and build a brand. And this has led me to launch Her 42 in my 40s. It is a self-care brand rooted in healing, and I started creating planetary bath salts as part of my self-care practice, alongside with journaling and walking, spending time with supportive friends. And in 5 years, I moved out of Section 8 housing, and I stopped relying on government assistance, and I now fully support my children even without child support from my ex-partner.
Amazing. And that is amazing. Now, you did mention that you have 4 children, so and they're all in different stages of life. What are some of the lessons you've learned as a parent rebuilding after abuse, and what advice would you give to other parents listening today who might be trying to create a safe and nurturing environment for their children?
My kids are 20, 19, 15, and 8 years old.
Wow.
So there's like different personalities, and parenting after abuse is so hard. You have to have a lot of curiosity and empathy in hand, and you have to practice all the tools that you've learned. So they were also traumatized, and healing is ongoing. And I'm not a perfect parent, but I use those tools that I've learned to help them. They had anger issues, and I taught them how to regulate emotions with breathing exercises and open communication. Like, as long as I make them feel heard and understood as well, that's a win. And my daughter was bullied in middle school. I think the thing with like middle school and even elementary, any grade, is that when you come from a broken family, you become shy, and they can smell you. They can smell how you behave or how you act. So she was so shy, and she became a target because she came from a single parent home. And one time, boys threw her backpack in the trash and stabbed her with keys.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I wanted to go to school. I went to school and I talked to the administrators and I explained to them that we just had this situation
Yeah.
and they understood and the bullying stopped. And my daughter and I had so many conversations about empathy, courage, self worth, and standing up for herself. And we also went to therapy together. And really, and that is just one issue. And I have 4 kids with different issues. Being a single parent and survivor is really exhausting.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, triggers resurface. And I try my best every day to address those challenges using the skills that I've learned and modeling that to my kids.
You're definitely a super mom. I mean, having to go through the challenges of your own and having to deal with the trauma of your own, and then also having to navigate your children's traumas and being there for them. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of love, a lot of compassion, and I see that just talking to you in this last 5 minutes, I see that you are such an amazing mom, and kudos to you for all your accomplishments. Like, I don't know how you do it, but that you touched my heart. That is amazing. Now, as a survivor, a single mom, and an entrepreneur, how do you define a healthy family life today? And what are some of the values or routines you've prioritized with your kids as you've built this new chapter together?
To me, a healthy family life means being able to provide my kids basic needs and being able to make them feel safe, feel heard, and feel understood, and also spending a lot of quality time together, checking in with them, where they at, meeting them where they're at. We prioritize a lot of grace, a lot of empathy, kindness, and structure, and a ton of self-care. Balance is really needed in nurturing a healthy family life. Life is so messy and chaotic, and stuff happens. And being a single parent, I work and I run a business, and I have my 4 kids, so I have to balance all of those. Yeah,
Wow.
and the self-care that I've, accumulated over time, that I've learned, that me and my children practice together. Like I said earlier, journaling is so important to me. Budgeting, in fact, I have like a monthly budgeting or financial wellness date with myself where I just sit down and, do my finances. Lots of walking, meeting up with friends who are safe and supportive. And my kids and I have like movie nights, and during the holidays, we bake cookies, we decorate the tree, and because I'm Filipino, we sing karaoke. And we've really come a long way. From sleeping in a van to now living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms. I'm just reminiscing all those memories, and I feel so relieved that I don't have to lay down on the grass with a blanket with my kids on the park anymore. And every time I wake up in the morning, I feel so grateful for the roof over my head, being able to meet our basic needs, and just being able to have like a sound sleep without worrying about being safe.
Yeah. Now, if there was, yeah, go ahead.
We've created so much memories, new traditions, and a life that is filled with so much resilience, so much joy, and abundance.
Love it. Now, if there was one advice that you could give to our listener that may be going to a similar situation, what advice would that be?
It's difficult to be really in a situation where trauma has happened to you, and just approach it one day at a time. Just be committed with everything that you learn and all of the resources that you have. And my unconditional love for my kids is the driving force as to why I keep going, because I would have given up a long time ago. And there are times that I want to give up because there's just too much. And I'm only one person.
Yeah.
But I always think of them, and I always think of like the bright future that we'll all have as long as I keep them safe. And open communication is always the best thing that worked for me. And also being gentle with myself, being able to take care of myself and pour into myself so that I could pour that into my kids. I could pour love and joy and generosity and all of the great values to my kids.
Wow. Wow. Well, it, thank you. Thank you so much, Cherry, for being here, being on the show, sharing your journey with us. It's definitely, like I said, I'm going to say it again. You are a super mom. You are a super woman. And, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the luck. I wish you all of good energy sending your way. And thank you for being on the show today with us and sharing your journey.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I am so grateful to share my story. And if I could change a survivor's life or someone who is related to a survivor, it would mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm sure you've impacted a lot of people today, for sure. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Bye, Cherry.
Bye.
Okay, so we'd like to wrap up now by learning more about the Daya's upcoming film screening and featuring not only Cherry's story but also that of a Daya survivor, and how can the community get involved and support Daya.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're so honored to have Cherry be our keynote speaker at our gala September 28th. I was just blown away by just this little segment. And if you all want to see the documentary, for all of our listeners out there, Daya and Freeform are hosting a screening on September 18th at 6 p.m. at Edwards Greenway of a special screening of Survivor Made, the moving documentary that features the story of survivors who are rebuilding their lives through entrepreneurship. And Cherry Morse, whom you just heard, is one of the survivors featured in that documentary. So we really hope that y'all will come out and not just support Daya's Gala, of course, and hear Cherry in person, but also come out on September 18th to view the documentary. All the details are available on Daya's Gala website, dayahouston.org/Gala 2025, including ticketing information for the documentary. Tickets can be purchased directly through that link. And then also, just to let everybody know, the screening is on September 18th, but September 28th, we will be welcoming Cherry Morris, manager at Gifted by Freeform, as our keynote speaker at Daya's annual gala at Sugarland Marriott. And as you've all heard, and just got a little snippet of Cherry's amazing personality and story, come out and hear the rest of it. She will be our keynote speaker, and she will talk about her personal and professional journey. And we are just so thrilled and honored to have her be featured at our gala this year. Christine, did you have anything more to add?
Yeah, just I've had the honor of spending a little bit of time with Cherry after the screening in Austin last year that they did, and she was on the panel there, and she is just, as you guys heard, a force, an inspiration. And what I find incredibly inspiring about her is not that she stays in kind of the situation she was in, but that her bright positive outlook for the future. And so, you know, that's kind of our theme for the gala this year, is like that metamorphosis and the journey that one or all survivors go through, because it's really similar what they face, ironically, and, you know, kind of what the other side of that can look like with the right interventions. And I think that's what's critical here is, had she not, you know, had a support system through the local shelter, her story may have been different. And that's something that we try to highlight at Daya is, you know, yes, this happened, and we want to help you deal with the trauma. You're not alone. There is an agency and an entire community that support you. And so our tagline this year is their voices, their strength, our support. And so we really want to feature, you know, those voices. We're really excited that we're also going to have a Daya former client, that's going to be joining us, who is equally inspirational, and her story has made a life for herself and her, I think, 2 children.
She has one child, but I think they're older. He's older, and she's, you know, just a very inspirational person in herself, and a marathon runner, and has quite a story. And you know, she was an actual Daya client that we assisted. So
that's wonderful. I mean, unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm like, I really want to hear more, then I just looked at the time. We're out of time. But thank you, ladies, for coming on the show. We really enjoy having you. We learn so much every time you guys are here. Listeners, I hope today's show was inspiring to you guys. And if you go to Daya's website, their gala is on September 28th. And we will see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you.